Good afternoon, and welcome back to Mortgage Financing and Homebuyer Ready. I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Grant with Cardinal Financial.
And I'm Jackie Abrams with Sampson Properties. I'm the realtor.
Yeah. She's the realtor. I just said Cardinal Financial. Yes, Jackie is the realtor.
Yes, I am. And Barbara is the lender.
Yes. Well, we are so happy that you came back with us again today. We have some exciting stuff going on. But just to recap, the last two episodes, we talked about down payment assistance programs. So if you did not see those yet, go back and look at them, because I know you guys will be excited, because we kept getting calls and emails. When are you going to talk about down payment assistance? So we did that already.
Yes.
So now we're going to be moving on, right?
Yes,
we're going to be talking about the closing process. And we have a wonderful guest with us here today. So when we come back, we're going to introduce our guests, and we're going to talk about the closing process and how you get the keys to your home. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Tania McQueen. I'm the Residential Services Manager for Prestige Community Resources.
What our new facilities are respite centers. We're opening 2 in the city right now. Hopefully we'll expand to more. But respite centers are a place where people can come and get a little additional support with their mental health. Our one on Eastern Avenue is for men, and our one on Minnesota Avenue is for women. Our facilities are for all DC residents, especially focusing in on those in Ward 7 and 8. So they're really nice, and I'm excited for consumers to actually see them. What are the services that we're going to provide? Therapy, case management, medication management, all provided by professional staff, a licensed nurse practitioner, psychiatrists, sociologists, social workers, and then our paraprofessionals, our case managers. It's just a place where you can come and get the supports that you need to work on your personal goals, as well as to get your mental health straight. Simple, single adult, 18 years of age or older, a DC resident. You need to have insurance, but if you don't have it, it's okay. Still come, we'll work on getting you insurance. Have to have a negative COVID test, a negative TB test, and be willing to work on your mental health. For more information about respite services, you can contact us at 202-796-5000 or hit us up on our website at www.prestigecommunityresources.org.
Well, welcome back again to Mortgage Financing and Homebuyer Ready. You know, I forgot last time when we were coming in, Jackie, I forgot to say, if you want to be a studio audience, right, you can email us at homebuyingaudience@gmail.com. And of course, if you have any questions for me and Jackie, you can always do homebuyingquestions@gmail.com. But I'm so excited today.
Yes.
I want to get to our guest
All
today,
then.
right?
Yes.
Well, we have Miss Dewana Baker today, and she is an executive closing agent. And so we're going to talk about that today, right, Jackie?
We are. We're going to talk about, we have a whole wonderful show set up for all of that, but let's just say what happens right as you get to the closing table. You know, you have to get your closing disclosures. Everybody's always excited about that. That means closing is definitely going to happen. Mm-hmm. And as you depending on the company that you work with, you may have a closing agent, as Dewana is, or you may have a closing attorney. And it doesn't matter. They both do the same things, and you will know that based on what your real estate agent tells you. Okay?
Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
Right. That's right.
So we have Miss Dewana Baker here with us today. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much.
You're looking so beautiful.
Yes,
Oh,
you
thank you.
are.
You all are beautiful for having me here today.
Oh, you are welcome.
You
Now,
know.
you're not always going to get a closing agent looks like this. I'm going to tell you that right from the start, okay? I'm going to tell you that right. But for you guys, we're giving it to you today, right, Jackie?
Yes, we are.
So
Top of the line.
Always top of the line. That's what we
right.
do here.
That's right.
So we want to get into the closing process, like what Jackie talked about. So, Dewana, just you can tell us a little bit about yourself first,
Okay.
and then you can, start getting, why are we conducting this closing? What's going on?
Okay. Well, my name is Dawn Baker, as you all said, and I just want to thank the host for doing such a fantastic job in educating the public about, the real estate closing process. I think that is
Yes.
something that's very important, and you cannot have but the best of the best as it relates to the real estate agent as well as the lender. So you're in great hands in having these two persons to be a part of your real estate process. So now we're at the closing table. Very excited time. I'm so glad to be at the closing table with you because I'm the last person that you see. I'm the last person that's going to give you your keys, and that's such a joyous time to partake of when a buyer is about to purchase their home. And so at that process, I always try to make things very comfortable, easy. I know you're under a lot of stress, but when you come to me, there is no stress. We're going to talk about these documents. We're going to get them signed properly and appropriately, and I'm going to notarize them and all of those type things. So as an executive closing agent in the state of Maryland, I am what you call a title insurance producer independent contractor. I have a license by the state of Maryland to conduct mortgage closings. And in the state of Maryland, you also have to be a commission notary.
Okay.
Okay, but that's not necessarily the case in the District of Columbia or Virginia.
Okay.
Okay, but you do have to have the experience. But also, you can have an attorney. But why would you want an attorney if you can have someone like me?
That's right. You heard it. That's right.
So you also can have your attorney to do the closing as well. And, you have your attorney as well through the process to inform you of different things. Now, I am not an attorney. So that is very important for me to say. There's fine line in terms of what I can do and explain during the closing process, to our clients. But rest assured, any questions that the client has, I will make sure that you understand everything when you're signing your documents. So don't worry of anything about that.
So Dewana, let me ask you this question. I heard you say that there is a fine line between a closer and an attorney, but in the state of Maryland, you could use both, whether it's attorney or a closing agent. So, I mean, can you give us a couple of reasons why we would use an attorney instead of a closing agent? Like, what would be just that the attorney wants to do it, or what would be the reason?
I guess one reason I could say, also would be maybe the comfort level of that particular client, to have someone who is a certified attorney, licensed attorney. But I'm licensed too.
Right.
So understand that in the state of Maryland, to do this, to conduct closings, you must be licensed. There's formal tests that I go through.
Okay,
And,
okay.
I have continuing education credits that I must satisfy every so often to keep abreast. And also, I am really a quote-unquote employee of the Secretary of State because of the fact that I have a commission notary in the state of Maryland.
Okay.
And so they know who I am. They can find me.
Okay. So it really does not matter.
Right.
I guess that's the point I was trying to.
It really doesn't matter because I'm essentially going to do the same thing that the attorney does. If you have more in-depth questions, I can explain some of the documents, give you a brief overview. But if you have more in-depth questions, I'll always ask you we'll refer back to your attorney, or your lender, or either your real estate agent.
And I'd like to say that when I've had closings at Cardinal Title, that they have attorneys there. They have the attorneys who close. But every once in a while, they have to bring in an executive closing agent or a closing agent because maybe they got so many closings. So at any point that I request a closing, I know that someone's going to be there, whether it's one of the usual attorneys or a closing agent.
Right.
So we can request a closing agent if we wanted to.
Perhaps.
No, you can't.
They would make that decision. They would make
okay.
that
Yeah,
decision.
you would
The
make
company
that
would make
decision.
that decision. But I've also had an instance with a seller who did not want to attend the actual closing with the buyer. And so the actual, a closing agent actually went to that person's home.
Yes.
And so that was a closing agent
Okay.
who
Right.
went to her home.
Right.
Yes.
And so that's a good point, that another synonymous name is a mobile notary.
Yes.
Another synonymous name you may hear, a loan signing agent. And so what distinguishes me as an executive closing agent is that I work directly with the title company or the escrow officers.
Okay.
Instead of going through a third party type signing company in order to conduct my business.
Okay.
So that sets up a very special relationship for me to ensure to not only that the client of my client is satisfied, but that also that everyone is satisfied at the table.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's good.
Excellent.
So if you walk into a closing, you know, whether it's with Jackie or with anyone else, just rest assured, if the attorney is not there, you're in good hands.
Yes,
Right? With the
absolutely.
agent. You're in good hands. So
Absolutely.
Actually, they don't even announce that they're attorneys. They're just the people
that's
there.
true.
Yeah, they're
Doing
just
the
the people
closing.
there doing
So
the
you
closing.
don't
So
even
they
know
don't
anyway.
even know that they're not attorneys or that they are attorneys. So,
just know that they're there to
Right.
help you and
That's
answer
right.
your questions.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. So okay, so what happens before they get the keys? You can start,
Yeah,
telling us what
okay.
kind of happens.
So one of the things that's very important, like I said, when you're at the closing table, you should be very, very excited. Because by this time, all of the other things that you had to do through your process, you've already gotten the proof of your loan, of course, because that's why you're sitting there. Now we're just doing the formality in terms of obtaining what we call wet signatures or in-person signatures for a lot of the documents that you have probably already seen before,
Yes.
but we have them again so that we will have a formal signature of the documents that are required.
Okay.
And we'll talk about this later, but there are 5 essential documents that must be signed and in order, especially for a purchase, because the purchase is right there that day. You do not have opportunity to rethink your process, whether I want to do this or not. So once we go through that process, at the end, everything is clear by the title company I may be working with or the escrow officer, and they say these documents are good. I'll hand you your keys and you're ready to go.
Ready
and that's
to
an
go.
exciting time. So
That's wonderful. And just to expound on when she said especially a purchase. So for refinance, we haven't gone over that, but a refinance is a little bit different. You have the
Yes.
right of rescission. So you have days that you can wait and change your mind. So
Yes.
we'll talk about that process another time.
Yes.
So Dewana is here talking about when you're actually purchasing a home, and she has the keys to give to you.
right. And so then at the table, we because of the fact that some of the documents that you will be signing, and this is where my notary part comes in, you are essentially affirming or attesting or acknowledging that the information that you have provided is accurate, you have provided it of your own free will, and you have provided it to the best of your ability. So one of the things that I do at the closing table, we take an oath, and that is required because in the state of Maryland as the commission notary, that is something that I have to do. And in your closing packet, there are things that for example, we have a name affidavit. So you're saying that this is your name. You're certifying that this is your name. We have situations whereby occupancy requirements in Maryland for some of the loans that they may have received, and that occupancy requirement may require them to stay in the state of Maryland. So you're going to, under oath, say that yes, I purchased this property in the state of Maryland, and I will be living in this property. So those are just some examples of where the notary aspect comes in as it relates to the closing documents.
Excuse me, may I go back to the fact that they have to verify that that's their name? My whole life I had been seeing AKA. You see something AKA, AKA, AKA. I had no idea that AKA meant also known as
That's right.
until the very first time I signed, which would have, I guess, been in 1992 when I signed that documentation. And I saw all of those different versions of my name.
Right.
And that kind of surprised me. Why did I
Right.
have so many different versions of my
your
name?
name.
And I had to identify and say, yes, I would have used this, I don't even know why. Sometimes it had the middle initial, sometimes it had the whole middle name, and it was just different spellings of Jacqueline
Right.
that weren't quite right. The E was left off my name on a
Yes.
credit card.
You
So
have an unusual spelling
yes,
in
that's
your
right.
name.
No, it's just a regular
Rubber Jack.
Jacqueline,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
But anyway, that was a surprise to me to finally learn what AKA meant.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a sorority. AKA.
It wasn't the sorority, AKA.
It
So,
wasn't sorority,
any
AKA.
Alpha, Kappa Alpha
Yeah,
listening,
no.
we weren't talking, but let
That's
me
right.
let me expound on that, okay? Because that stems way back to me.
Okay.
Yes.
AKA,
Okay.
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Yes.
It's whenever you apply for any type of credit. Jackie's not gonna like this right now, but I'm gonna tell everybody. Whenever you apply for any type of credit, you give the credit company your information. So if the spelling of your name is incorrect, if the middle initial is add, if you're married, if you hyphenate, if you don't hyphenate, then you're not married anymore, then you don't hyphenate anymore, just like with the addresses. So any information that you give a creditor, that's the way that you're applying for credit, and it goes on your credit report. So as a mortgage lender, when we get that, we have to submit that document because all those different variations are on your credit
Gotcha.
report.
Well, one time I really wish that I had realized that it wasn't something, because I never write my name without an E at
Right.
the end.
That's
That's
what
not
she
my name.
says.
Yeah.
I never write my name without an E. And so I should have, when I got the card, I should have sent the card back and let them know to change that. But I didn't know. I'm like, okay, it's my card. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
But I learned that it does matter.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
It does
but
matter.
it doesn't really affect you
No,
unless it's
that's right. That's right.
you know,
which
it-
is why I still probably have that same card.
Yeah.
I probably
without the E.
without the E. But when I sign, I always sign with an E.
Yes.
Because that's just what I do. That's who I am.
Yeah, that's
So,
just
anyway.
who she is and what she does. And again, I'll state
Okay. Okay.
you give the creditor
All right,
the
okay,
information. That's why her card came without the E. But
Although people do, when you call in to get a credit card, they ask you your name.
You can
I
change it.
spell it the way I spell
Yeah,
it.
and you can change
And
it.
so I believe that was human error on the other side. That's just what I believe, Barbara.
I'm not even going to, you guys know how we go back and forth. I'm not even going to fight that. If that's what she said
That's
it is,
what I believe.
but just know what I told you. But, Juana, we are so sorry.
That's okay.
But sometimes, you know, we get in this little, but I'm not even going to go back and forth because we have a guest today, Jackie.
We do.
So,
I'm sorry.
right, we have a
Put on
guest.
my-
We're sorry.
Put on my
We're
guest
no
behavior,
problem.
Yes.
Whatsoever.
We're going to put on our guest behavior again. Okay. Okay. So, Dewana, we apologize.
No apology necessary.
Oh, wonderful. You're lucky she's nice. But anyway, yes, that's what the AKA, my version and Jackie's version, you know, whichever one you want to use. It really doesn't matter. So, Dewana, I hope we didn't make you lose your train of thought. Where
I
you were
hope
at.
not. I think I could recap it. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. And so, as I said, there are some within the documents. There is a requirement for you to take an oath because there are some documents that I will also be notarizing. And so, really, you're getting like 2 for 1 as being an executive closing agent, because I can also notarize, and then also I can do witness the signatures, you know, that are being placed upon the documents. And we go through each document. I give a brief description of what each document is, just a brief summary, and I point out the major points of that particular document. And we'll talk more about that later when we talk about the big 5. But I make sure that there are things that are important for you to know, that you take note of those things. And I will discuss those, you know, through the documents and ask you if you have any questions. And I will answer them to the best of my ability. But if not, I'm able to have access to the real estate officer, to the escrow officer, you know, in order to ask those, get those questions answered for you. So that's one of the perks of being an executive closing agent, is because of my direct relationship with the escrow officer as well as with the title company as well. Okay.
Well, can you explain for us real quick, explain for everybody, what's an escrow officer?
Well, good question. An escrow. So we can think about the escrow officer as being a neutral party. That's the party that's going to have the interests of both the buyer as well as the seller. And it's someone who basically you trust, okay, because they're going to have the buyer's money and they're going to have the seller's money, okay? And so they're the ones who are responsible for keeping track of that money, also for the distribution of those funds. And so it's an accountability type person, I would say. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So you need to have that neutral party that has no interest either on the seller side or the buyer side.
And there's a difference that an escrow agent is hired to do this.
Right.
Correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So all these different moving parts that I really didn't know, that's at the closing table. So, I just go sometimes because Jackie tells me to go and I just come. So
Actually, Barbara loves being there.
I do.
And she was at every closing, which was the first time I actually worked with a lender who ever attended any closing that I had, and that was probably my first 2.5 to maybe 3 years.
And that's only 'cause I love my
yes,
clients.
that's right. She as I said many times, she develops like a personal, not personal, but a relationship with a business relationship with the clients, and she loves meeting them. So that was something that she loved doing. But then enter COVID, and she could no longer go. So
right, they didn't allow
that's right.
so many people
That's
going.
right.
And like Jackie and I told so many stories before, when I first got my home and we were sitting at the table and things started to go awry, the loan officer makes a call in and takes all my money that we and my husband were getting back. And when I got into the business, I said, you know what? If he had been sitting at this table, I could have looked him in his eye and been like, what are you doing? Because I didn't know at that time. I wasn't in the business. So I didn't know at that time. So I like the fact that when we go, if there's a question or an issue,
That's right.
I'm the one. It's not Jackie, and it's not the escrow agent or the executive agent. I'm getting on the phone with my
That's
company, and I'm trying to figure out what is going on to get
That's
everything
right.
corrected.
That's right.
So that can make. Have you ever been to any with a loan officer?
Yes, in fact, I
Okay.
just did a closing about 2 weeks ago.
Wonderful.
And the loan officer was there. And I think that is a wonderful thing. And I've had a situation where even the real estate agent is there. So,
Even?
Yes.
You mean not usually?
No.
Are you kidding
Jackie goes
me?
to all her
You-
closings.
I have the
Not all
only
of my
only
closings.
time I've missed a few, and it wasn't because I wanted to. I was fighting every inch of the way to be there, but it was also due to COVID, and it was COVID during COVID. If it was new construction, those companies for whatever
Okay.
reason they were either doing closings in their car. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I had one person have a closing in her car, and that was very unusual.
Yes.
And I was literally on the phone about that until I just said to her, okay, there's nothing we can do. It's due to COVID.
Right.
And so then, during the COVID time, I believe I've missed three. But I go to everyone 100%.
And I think that that's important. And so let me also clarify certain points. As a loan signing agent, as I said, it's different from an executive agent, but you still do some of the same things. That's the beauty of being an executive closing agent, because you have that direct relationship with the persons that you're dealing with. The second part of that is, as a loan signing agent, a lot of times you're a mobile notary, and especially during COVID, yes, because I did that as well.
Okay.
Where I met clients on the porch of their home.
Wow.
Yes,
Because of COVID.
because of COVID.
Right.
And so that's why I said, in those situations, no, the agent was not there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But since I've been doing the work as an executive closing agent, the lender has been there, the real estate agent has
that's
been
awesome.
there.
That's good.
So it's always good because it just lends itself to a much smoother process. And I feel more comfortable as well, because if there's something that I don't know or whatever, I always refer to that expert that's there. So.
Okay.
That's right. That's
Awesome.
right. Okay.
This is
Very
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to recap something because I definitely want to get this. A loan signing agent and the difference between them and an executive signing agent. Give that to us one more time.
The executives, the loan signing agent does have the requirement to, they can do mortgage documents, et cetera. They're primarily hired through what we call signing companies, hence loan signing agents. These are third party companies that they receive business from. As an executive closing agent, I've went a little further in terms of, one, being very familiar with all of the documents, which is an asset to you as the lender, to you as the real estate agent, because I want you to feel comfortable with my ability to be able to conduct the closing in the event that you're not there, and that you trust the fact that I understand what that thin line is. And again, that's relationship. The second part, that's a big difference, is that I work directly with that particular escrow officer or title
company.
officer. So
Okay.
I don't go through a third party signing company in order to procure my business. Okay.
This is, I mean,
Yeah.
this is a lot of good news.
really
a lot of good
is.
news to
It
me.
really
But
is.
we're going to take another break. And when we come back, Dewana is still here with us. We're going to continue with her because this is some excellent information. So please stay tuned and we will be right back.
It is key that you mind your mental health.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing this week?
Use the 5 keys to mental
Well, this week
movement.
has been a really monumental week for me. I realized that I was not being myself.
Reaching out.
The positive attitude person self, like you guys know me to be. I was
Staying
listening to
upbeat.
teaching and get back to that happy, cheery self you guys of me.
This week's been kind of
Being
stressful
creative.
with all of the workload that we have on online learning. So I've been trying to use different platforms and different websites to help ease my mind and ease my stress.
And what about you, Margaret?
Well, you guys know me. I just love to work with others and serve them.
Serving others.
Realize that when I serve others, my mind is off of myself.
That's right, and don't forget, self-care is key.
Self-care.
All right, so see you guys next week.
Right.
Bye.
Your mind matters.
Back with Mortgage Financing and Homebuyer Ready, and as you know, we have a special guest today, Dewana Baker. She is our executive closing agent, and we were just talking about the difference, this distinct difference between a closing agent who may work for a company and what Dewana does as an executive closing agent.
Interesting.
And so it was very interesting. So we're going to move on so that Dewana has enough time to get all the information in.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, so once we've basically have gotten through the documents, and we'll talk more about those documents at the end, the 5, what I call the 5 major ones. Once those documents have been approved by the title company, then I'm able to have the go ahead to give the client their keys. So in that approval process comes not only the correct signature and notarization of the documents, but also that the money has transferred. So that is essential.
And may I say, ding, 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 ding.
Yes.
Money is always important.
Yes,
The
the
transfer
money-
is always important.
Yes, yes.
Nothing happens until the money's in.
Right, nothing happens. So I have been in situations
Yes.
where I had to wait with the client because the money had not properly transferred at that time. So, and that was okay. Was able to do that. But the most important thing is that the person got their keys at the end.
Absolutely.
And that's why I like doing the purchases. Not to say I don't like doing the refinances, but it's such happy time.
Yes,
a
it
joy.
is.
Yeah,
Yes,
a
yes,
joyous
it is.
time.
You hand that key over.
Yes,
Mhm.
to the
Absolutely.
client.
As a matter of fact, that's a reason that I don't like missing
Right.
the closings is
Yes.
because I celebrate with my clients. We have
Yes.
been through this for
Yes.
ever how long, and I celebrate big time with my
Yes,
clients.
yes.
And so I would miss that, and I did have to
Yes.
miss that. But
Yeah.
even when I had to miss some of those closings due to what I explained earlier, I actually had someone there taking pictures.
Right, right.
Yes,
At-
taking
at the
pictures of,
end.
yeah, so that they can remember that. It's
one
such an important thing.
time. Yeah, and it's such an important time where, for me personally, I think it's important to make the customer feel very comfortable. They have been through so much sometimes, through the process. And I'm just speaking from experience,
Yes,
my own
that's right.
personal
That's right.
experience.
To the end.
So getting to the end, you want it to be a joyous time. You
Yes.
want to have very few, if any, hiccups, at that time. And you don't want anything. I look at it, I am the person that's standing between you getting your keys to
Right.
your new home.
Right.
I want you to have your keys. So I'll do everything possible to make sure that you have your keys.
That is awesome. But one thing that I did not know about, and Dewana had told me once before, and I want you to talk about that a little bit. I've never done a virtual closing. You, Jackie? A virtual?
No, I
A
have not
virtual
done a
clo-
virtual closing.
Talk a little bit. Everybody can't do it, right?
No.
Talk a little bit about the criteria, qualifications, and what is a virtual closing?
So, a virtual closing is a closing because of COVID, things have changed traditionally where instead of sitting face to face with the client, as I'm like sitting here with you, we can do them what we call remotely. And what that means, I am in one location, the client is in another location, okay? And through the use of approved technology, and I'm going to talk specifically about the state of Maryland, Virginia does have has the approval, has approved what they call remote online notarizations, and I think the District of Columbia is in the process of starting it. But essentially what it means is that I'm in one location, you're in another location. And through the use of approved technology by the state of Maryland, and I too would have to be certified and approved by the state of Maryland in order to conduct that, what we call the remote online notarization or a virtual notarization. And that will require the client to have certain technology as well, a computer, to be able to have good internet, secure internet. That's very important. And essentially, we go through the same process. I verify your identity. I verify, things that relating to the documents. I also still notarize. It's called electronic notarization. So I have an electronic stamp that has been approved by the state of Maryland in order to conduct these closings. And so the virtual closings primarily come through those companies that have the capacity to do that. So not all of the title companies are on board just yet, but they're working very hard to do that because in light of COVID, people are understanding more and more the importance to have other means of being able to
Absolutely.
protect the health of all parties, concerned.
Absolutely.
So, and you can do not only purchases, you can do refinances, you can do, let's say you just wanted a power of attorney notarized. You can do that virtually as well.
So would a person, okay, let's just say hypothetically, forget COVID, and I just said, I just want a virtual closing. Jackie, I heard about these virtual closings, because somebody's going to do this. I heard about these virtual closings. I don't feel like going into, to the title company. Can you set that up? Can anybody just do that and request that?
It can be request, but
Okay.
also it has to be like, for example, does the title company have the capacity?
Got you.
Because a lot of title companies are in the process
Okay.
of coming on board because there are certain criteria that they too have to go through in order
Wow.
to be able to offer remote online notarizations to you. And so, if they have the ability to do it, by all means, request it. And you can request me too.
You heard it first.
You heard it
You
first.
can request
Yes.
Dawana
Yes.
Baker
Yes.
because she's an executive closing
That's right.
agent,
That's
Yes.
and she does virtual. It's
Yes.
called virtual or remote.
Wait, well, virtual is one name synonymous to remote online
Okay.
notarization. Another word that they call it is e-mortgages, electronic
Oh.
mortgages. And then there are also, let's say, there are situations whereby it would be 100% virtual. And what I mean by that is that all of your documents will be signed electronically. I will be in one location, you will be in another location. But then they have something what we call like a hybrid, where some of the documents are done electronically, and then some of the documents are done what we call the traditional way, where you collect the wet signature. So that requires, a face to face when you're doing that hybrid. So it's a combination of both, And again, the client has to have the technology, computer, internet, things of that nature in order to be able to do those what we call hybrid type closings.
Now, the mortgage company has to have that technology too.
Yes,
It's a funny.
yes, yes.
As soon as you said hybrid, and
Yes.
I went, wait a minute. My CE classes. Oh my goodness! Don't
Yes.
tell my boss. But my CE classes, continuing education classes this year.
Yes.
They talked about those closings, and until you just said the hybrid
Right.
and the e-signatures. So obviously, Cardinal Financial, we do that. Because I had to learn it.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
And I'm really just getting it now,
Yes.
Dawana. This is awesome.
In some
Okay.
formats with the lenders, DocuSign is kind of
Yeah,
like
we
a
do
hybrid.
DocuSign all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of
right?
like a hybrid. Because
Okay.
sometimes you will have those same documents where you need to have a wet signature. So it's okay to maybe have them DocuSign, but sometimes the lender
Right.
requires them to also
Have
have
the
a wet
signature.
signature. So yes, you're right. Everybody in the business, I should have said it that way. Everybody that's in the business of the real estate process from the beginning all the way to the end to
Awesome.
where I am as the closing. The technology is moving toward doing remote online notarizations or virtual or what we call a hybrid, where you have a mixture of doing part of it on the computer and the other part you do in person to obtain those wet signatures.
That is
Very
awesome.
good.
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
That is awesome. I'm loving that. I'm
Yes.
loving that. Okay, so if we do that, then you handle all of that. You just have to make sure that the title company, obviously the mortgage company, has to already be set up because
Yes.
our documents
Yes.
have to get to you,
Yes.
or it has to get to the title company, which in turn has to get to you electronically,
Right.
and all of that has to be set up. So that will has to be a continuous
Yes.
circle. So
Right.
if you have any clients that ask that up front, then you would know that
Right.
you need to make sure Cardinal
Everybody-
Financial, Cardinal Title, whatever title
Yes,
company that
right.
you're using, and then we know Dawana does it.
That's right.
We don't know
That's
anybody
right.
else. We
That's
know
right.
Dawana does
That's
it,
right.
right?
Yes, yes.
So we have to just make sure that everybody is set with that. I
On the
love
same
that.
page. That's
Yes,
right. Very
yes.
good.
And
Very
that's
good.
and again it's all about relationship in terms of what we do. And then through that relationship is a communication with the desires of the client being, filtered through each portion of the real estate process to make sure that everything is carried out appropriately.
Okay. All righty.
That's
Well,
awesome.
it seems like we need to get to the big five.
Oh,
Okay.
We need to get to the big
It
five
seems like
because
we
there's a lot of explanation on the big
Yes,
five.
yes, and I think it's very important. But actually, before we actually do that, I do want to say something about title insurance because
Yes.
we've been mentioning the title company over and over and over again.
Yes.
So, can you just give a little explanation about title insurance and exactly
Okay.
what that is?
So title insurance is something that protects you as the buyer, and it also protects the seller, and it also protects the lender. So look at it as insurance to make sure that the property that you are purchasing is your property, and that number one, and number two, that if anything happens down the road, you are covered through this insurance. So there are two types of title insurance. One is required, and that's the title insurance for the lender. So the lender's investment of, financing your loan has to be protected. So you, as the buyer, you pay for that cost, okay, to protect the lender interest in your property, because they are financing your property. They approved your loan, so that's why you're here at the closing table. And so we want to make sure that everything is in order. The second type of title insurance is what we call optional or owner's title insurance. And a lot of my clients really don't understand the difference. And I'm not talking about hazard insurance, so that's
right.
totally
Or
different.
homeowners insurance.
Yeah, or
right.
homeowners insurance. Owner's title insurance protects you as the buyer for your purchase, this large purchase that you have already made. And what that means is when you're getting title insurance from the title company, essentially they're saying that your title is free and clear, meaning that no one can come back and lay claim to your property. Well, we know we don't live in a perfect world. Sometimes things happens, and we want to make sure that there is no cloud, what they call a cloud. You may have heard that term. In other words, what a cloud means is that there's something on there that should not be there. That the title company cannot give you what we call a full and clear title. Okay, and that's what you want. So in the event that there's a cloud that appears on your title insurance, it may not come right then and there. It could come maybe 10 years down the road. But you as an owner, you've paid for this owner's insurance, you're protected. Because it is the title company's responsibility to make sure that you have a free and clear title.
I am so glad you said that. I had a client who did not realize that she had purchased title insurance 15 to 20 years before.
Okay.
And when it was time to sell the property, a cloud came up.
All right.
And so luckily she was covered through that. But the interesting part was that was a third owner of that property. So my question to my title company, who did catch it, Cardinal Title, they did catch that cloud.
Okay.
What happened? How could that be? I was just flabbergasted to know that, 3 owners have owned it and now it's finally coming up.
Right.
And so she explained it as human error.
Human error.
Yes.
That's
yes,
exactly
yes,
right.
Yes.
So it's important to know, as a consumer, you have the right to shop for a title company. So you want to ask questions about their success rates, with that title company. And just to explain a little bit further about cloud, because some people, well, what is a cloud? That could be taxes that were not paid, but I don't think they're going to miss that one.
That's right.
They're not going to miss
We'll
taxes.
catch that.
Yes.
Yeah, right, they'll catch that. But let's say you have 5 sisters and you all own this property, and 4 of the sisters took it upon themselves to sell the property and they didn't tell you. Okay? So they consider you to be Broomhilda and say, oh, she's not gonna agree to sign for us to sell this property. We're gonna go ahead and sell it ourselves. Well, if that Broomhilda sister finds out about it, she can lay claim to your property.
She can come back and she can get that. Okay. I want to hear just a little bit more about that. But we're going to have to take another break.
Okay.
And then we're going to have to get to the big 5 because Jackie already told
okay.
you about. But I want to hear a little bit more about that, and then we're going to go over the big 5 because I know you guys are waiting to hear what the big 5 is. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
With Dewana.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Emmerich Peace. I am a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, a businessman, a real estate sales consultant, a lover of life, and a giver of the community. What family means to me, it means togetherness, love, happiness, support, inspiration, providing, ensuring, securing, loving. Family is what I live for. The things that I do in my day-to-day life is to support my family first. And then I go and live my family because I work my hardest, I do my best, just not to bring work home. When I'm home, I'm home. And when I'm working, I'm working. And now since I don't have any kids at home, I'm koi ponding and I'm really having lots of fun because it's just my place of just happiness, my happy place, being home, no kids at home, just being able to enjoy my home with my wife. The first time I experienced entrepreneurship was when I was a paper boy. I was about
And welcome back to Mortgage Financing and Homebuyer Ready. We're sitting here with Dewana Baker, who's an executive closing agent. We're going to have her finish up because that story was so interesting. We're going to have her finish up, and then we're going to get to that big five because I know you keep hearing big five, and you want us to get to big five.
Right.
So we're going to let Dewana speak.
Okay. so really just the summation of that story is the important point is that fifth sister who was not included in on that original sale of that property, she has right to come back and claim that property.
Wow.
Yes. And so that's why it's important to have your owner's insurance and your title insurance. Okay? One is required,
Wow.
which is the lender's title insurance. The other one that's optional is the owner's title insurance. And it is an investment that you will make one time, and on top of that, you have until the life of ownership of your property.
And
So
when is that title insurance actually purchased?
It's purchased at the time of the purchasing of your home.
So at the table.
At the
basically.
table.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
well, really at the table, I'm signing it off and
Right.
whatever. But it's been discussed with you, etc.
And so after closing, is there a way for them to come back and get it?
No,
Okay.
you cannot get. See, first and foremost, you would have already paid for the lender's title insurance.
Right,
That's
that's
a
right.
requirement. Okay.
A-
Your owner's
as a
title
part of
insur-
their closing
As part
costs.
of your closing.
Yes.
And the owner's title insurance, you would have paid that too as part of your closing costs. And that would be all on your closing disclosure, which is one of the big fives that I'm about to talk about.
All right.
Okay.
We're going to get to the big five.
Yes, we get into the big five. So that's a good question, Jackie. So on your closing disclosure, that really is one of the most important documents because in the closing disclosure, it tells you your loan amount, how much you're taking out, what your interest rate is. It tells you your principal interest. It gives you your escrow amount, and then gives you your bottom line, whether or not you're going to receive some money back as a little gift to buy some things, or you may owe some more money. And so it is important on the first page that tells you all of that information. On the second page is just a breakdown of all of the things that you had to pay for, such as your county taxes, such as your insurance, such as your lender's title insurance, your owner's title insurance, any prepaids, what they call things that you collect for your taxes and things of that nature to set up your escrow account.
Right.
And so the closing disclosure is very important. And by law, you're required to receive it 3 days prior to your coming to see me at the table.
At least 3 days.
At least
so it
3
can
days.
Be earlier.
Yes, at least 3 days. That's
We get it out
exactly right.
early.
Yes, yes. That you won't have to worry about. But you, by law, at least 3 days, you are required to receive that so you can go over and ask any questions that you may have. So make this process smooth. The other important thing is what they call the American Land Title Association, or the ALTA. Again, a company that is in place to ensure that the title company carries out their part of things in terms of your title insurance and things of that nature. And it really is just a reiteration of your closing disclosure, just in a more condensed form. It too will have the bottom line of whether you owe additional funds or you're going to receive. So while you have two documents, one goes to the closing disclosure goes to the mortgage company, and then the ALTA, the American Land Title Association, goes to your underwriter, the person who said, okay, well, we're going to give you this money. So that's what's important there. Then the all-important note, or the promissory note. So remember now, through your loan amount that you're taking out, you're promising the lender,
That's right.
okay, that you are going to pay this amount of money back at this particular interest rate for however many years, be it 15, 10, or 30. And you also understand what the requirements are, okay, when it's due on the first of the month, whether or not you're late. And it also tells you when your first payment is due, which is normally about 60 days, correct me if I'm wrong, about 60 days. You skip a month.
You skip a month.
Yeah, you skip a month. And it also tells you that there's no, in most cases, there's no prepayment penalty. And what that means is that you can pay it off earlier than is required. If you took a 30-year, you can make it 15 years, whatever you like to do. And I think that's important to know. And what your percentage of your fee is if you're late is all in your note. So the note is very important. Then we come to some people call it the deed of trust. Some people call it the mortgage document. Basically, what that is saying is a document that is recorded, okay, in land and title. It shows the ownership at this time and who is also part owner, because if you took out with Cardinal, their name will probably be on the deed of trust until you're fully satisfied the loan. And it also, you verify that you have the correct property address. That's very important. And then it's very important to know who is the owner. Right. Their name has to be spelled correctly. It has to be spelled out whether it's a single owner or two people together. You don't necessarily have to be married, but how are you owning this property together? Do you do it jointly? Just different things. But that's all very important. And then the one that everybody wants to know is, how much do I pay? The payment letter, when is it due? And what does it consist of? So in the payment letter, it tells you all of that. It tells you your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It tells you when it's due. It will reiterate when your first payment is due, like it did in the note. And it will also have the information of where to send your payment to. So people are always asking that question, right?
That's right. Whenever I'm at a closing, I didn't do it always, Dewana, but I learned because I would get phone calls about 30 to 60 days later. Who am I paying this to? I don't know what to do. Exactly. So I started saying at closings, as the process was ending, would you please make sure that document's on top of the folder? So as soon as they open the folder, they see what they're supposed to do.
Because you don't want to be late for your first payment.
That's right.
Definitely.
And since I started doing that, I haven't received any phone calls on that.
That's great. So we know that process.
That's why it works.
I remember when Jackie's like, I gotta call Barbara. Where's the payment letter at? I said the title company did the close. It's in their documents. Well, they're saying they don't see it. Jackie, it's in there. Trust me. They got a sign for it. It's in there, the payment letter. But you got to go through so many papers.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's a lot of papers that you have to go through.
Yes.
But I just love the way Dewana put this together.
Yes.
Like, I've never heard people call it the Big Five. So I'm sure that Big Five is like right there, and if they want to go over it again and make sure that they understand it, which nobody does, right?
Yeah, nobody does. They would say, well, what's this for? And
nobody does.
I thought I wasn't paying this, or whatever. So that's why it's important to know.
Yeah, the Big Five is right there. Those are your important documents. So they should all really be on the top, no matter what all the other signatures you're doing.
Right.
the big five should
Yes.
really be on
Yes,
the top
that's right.
because you need to know your note because that gives you all of your explanation of your mortgage, what you're paying, and your deed of trust. Who does this belong to?
That's right. That's right.
Am I the
Excellent.
owner?
Excellent.
Who's the owner? Who's on here? Is Junior the owner? That's a big
Yes.
mistake, right?
I was going to say we had a situation where a client, when he met me, he never told me that he was a junior.
Yes.
But when he completed Barbara's documents, I believe it said that he was a junior.
He was a junior.
So the documents, some had junior on it and some didn't. And that was not discovered until we were at the closing table. And so something had to be done differently to make sure that the correct owner was recorded as the correct owner.
That's right.
So he really wasn't the official owner until I believe it was about 60 days later.
wow.
Yeah. So his
That's
father
amazing.
Yes.
could have claimed
been-
ownership.
He coulda came and said,
Coulda
"This my
claimed
house."
ownership.
That's
yes.
right.
Your
So
name's
that's-
on the note.
Right.
My name's on the deed.
That's right.
Right, so
You better pay
that's
your
what
mortgage.
that AKA is
That's
important
right. That's
too.
right. That's right.
That
and
AKA.
so it was actually me who discovered it. And some of the
Okay.
documents said one thing, and some of the documents said something else. And so I just happened to ask a question.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Absolutely.
where did this come from?
Yes.
Then he said that I'm a junior.
Absolutely.
that's
and
important.
you don't want to do that.
That's
but
right.
Dewana, we're winding down now. But what? I mean, I don't know if that's proper or not. Do you want to give your information if anybody has
Oh,
questions?
that's definitely
or,
proper.
You know, I mean, 'cause, you know, you
Yeah.
have to be requested by Jackie or the
Yes.
title company. But if anybody has any questions, you want to give an email address or something to the
Sure.
people?
Yes. My email address is info@notaryeastcoast.com. And that's info@notaryeastcoast.com. And I'm more than willing to answer any questions, be able to provide any assistance that I can, and referrals.
And we'll make sure that all of your information, of course, your name, your phone number, if that's
Everything's
okay.
here.
Yes,
Is that okay?
absolutely.
And your email address will
Yes.
be on the show.
Yes.
Yes, this was
Yes.
wonderful, Jackie.
Definitely.
I really enjoyed this. It was just so informative because I didn't understand between a closing agent, loan signing agent, executive agent. We talked about all of that. We talked about the big five
Yes,
today.
very important.
Right? We went over those 5 documents. We talked about the closing, what happens at the closing, and the virtual closing.
Yes.
I mean, I just love it. I know you guys just love it too. Right, me and Jackie gonna talk about this later. We're gonna try to find out where she gonna be for the virtual closings. 'Cause we gonna get involved in that. I'm just saying,
All right,
Jackie.
now,
I'm
hello.
just saying because I don't know Cardinal title if we're up on that, right?
Well,
so
we'll see.
we want to
We'll
make
see.
sure that we're up on our
That's
game.
right. Hello.
Yes.
Well, I just already told you guys I know the Cardinal is,
Yes.
but we want to financial. We want to make sure that we're up on our game so that we can get Dewana in
That's
because I love the way she explained everything, and we are just loving this now.
And we also talked about the difference in what title insurance is and the difference
Yes.
between the two types.
Yes.
That was of utmost importance. So thank you so
Very
much for
important.
sharing that.
Very
Yes, it was.
important. Yes.
And because we're really not the SMEs, but if you email us, we can give you as much information. But Dewana has given her information as well.
Yes.
So we just want everybody to know we are so happy that you joined us here today.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Thank
We're
you so
glad that
much.
we can get all this information out
Yes,
to
yes,
you.
because our job is to make sure
Yes.
that you are able to purchase your home, you understand what's going on, and that you are
Understand
the
your
power
power
to
to
purchase.
purchase.
Hello?
Yes.
We will see you. I'm getting it wrong. We will see you in 2. I got to make sure I do it right. See you in 2.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.